Alrighty, welcome to another exciting lesson of Pro Mandarin. Now, you're probably wondering, if you don't have any food, or money, or friends, how are you going to get around in China? Well, you wouldn't have a problem telling anybody about this if you watch this video. Seriously, 你没有任何理由不看这段视频. Or in other words, you don't have any reason not to watch this video. So let's get into the lesson. But first you're probably wondering, can I learn all this Chinese in one video? Well, let's find out. So we're going to start off with a word here, 一点, which means a little bit. And if you're from anywhere in northeast China, you might say something like 一点, which is the pronunciation I'm going to use because that's what I'm familiar with. And we're going to pair it up with 都, which means all, or 也, which means also. However, in this case, we're not going to use it to mean all or also. It's actually going to change its meaning here. And it's actually going to be very similar to the previous lesson. Can't even learn a little Chinese? Now, I'll show you how this works in just a minute, but before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and add in the pronouns. So if you're already familiar with the pronouns, go ahead and skip ahead. If not, go ahead and stick around. So the first one is 我, which means I or me. And then we got 你, which means you. And then 他, which means he or him, as well as 她, which means she or her. And then if we add in 们 afterwards, then it becomes 我们, which means we or us, 你们, you guys, and 他们, them or they. Alright, so welcome back for those that skip the pronouns. Now we got 耐心, which means patience, and then we have 问题, which actually has two different meanings. It means question or questions, as well as problem or problems. Alright, and then we got 吃的, which means food, and of course there's other ways of saying food. One of them is 食物. But today we're going to mostly use 吃的. Alright, and then we got 钱, which means money. Now to finish off this phrase, all you're going to do is say 没有 at the end of it. Now, 没有 means that there isn't any, or that somebody doesn't have any, or something like that. So that's going to kind of help us understand how this sentence structure works here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a couple examples to help you understand this a little bit better. If you were to say, he doesn't have even a little bit of money, one of the ways you could say that is 他一点钱都没有. 他一点钱都没有. Now, you could say it in a different way, as in, he doesn't even have 1 cent. The way you'd say that is 他一分钱都没有. And that's also a super common way to say it. Now, for the second example, if I were to say, I don't have even a little bit of food, or I don't have any food whatsoever, the way I would say that is 我一点吃的也没有. 我一点吃的也没有. Now, just to keep in mind, you can use 都 or 也. They're used interchangeably in this sentence structure. And in this instance, they mean the same thing. Now, to avoid confusion, because there are some other nouns that I'm going to give you later, and you really can't use 一点 with every single noun. You can use it if you're going to say a little bit of whatever that is, but you wouldn't say even a little bit of friend, I don't have any. That wouldn't make any sense in either language. You'd say even one friend, I don't have any. So in that case, if you were going to say 朋友, which is friend, you would say 我一个朋友都没有. So just keep that in mind when you're using this phrase. You can use it for other items that you can say even a little bit, such as the ones that you see here, even a little bit of money, even a little bit of patience, and so on. So with that, how would you say he doesn't have any patience whatsoever, or at all, or not even a little bit of patience? And we're going to use 都 for this one. 他一点耐心都没有. 他一点耐心都没有. Now, how would you say, I don't have any problems? And we're going to use 也 for this one. 我一点问题也没有. 我一点问题也没有. Alright, before we move on to the next part, let's go over one more. How would you say, we don't have any food whatsoever? And we're going to use 都 for this one. 我们一点吃的都没有. 我们一点吃的都没有. Alright, let's go ahead and move on to the second part. And what we're going to do is we're going to drop out the 一点 and 都 and all that kind of stuff. And we're going to say it as straightforward as we possibly can. Very similar to how we would say it in English. Without adding in all this extra verbiage. We're just going to say, I don't have whatever it is. So we're going to keep it very simple. So with that, how would you say, as you see it right here, he doesn't have money? 他没有钱. 他没有钱. All right, now how would you say they don't have any food or they don't have food? 他们没有吃的。他们没有吃的。Now, we're going to go ahead and add into this middle column here 根本 and 完全. So 根本 means at all in this case. Usually when you're using it in the negative form, that's what you mean by it. Now, there are other meanings behind it. Some people brought it to my attention that it means principally or fundamentally, but I don't think we would say that in English, or most people wouldn't say something like that. Like nobody would say, I principally have no food, or I fundamentally have no patience, or something like that. So we would just say, I don't have any patience at all, or I don't have any food at all. So that's what we would actually mean by what we're saying if we say 根本. Now, 完全 is going to mean the same thing in this instance. It's going to mean at all as well. However, if you were to look it up, you'd see something like complete, whole, completely, fully, entirely, something like that. But we're going to mean it as in at all as well. Now, if you were to say something like, he doesn't have any patience whatsoever or at all, one of the ways that you could say that is 他根本没有耐心. 他根本没有耐心. And then if you were to say, I don't have any problems whatsoever, I don't have any problems at all, you could say, 我完全没有问题. 我完全没有问题. Now, we're going to go ahead and switch a couple of these words up. We're going to take out 耐心 and 钱, and towards the end of the video, I'll give you a better explanation of why that is. And then we're going to add in a couple other nouns to go along with this. We got 理由, which means reason or reasons, which we could also say 原因, which means reason or reasons as well. And then we got 朋友, which means friends. So the way that I would say, I don't have any friends at all, or I completely don't have any friends, I would say, 我完全没有朋友. 我完全没有朋友. Now, if I were to say she has no reason whatsoever, or she doesn't have any reason at all, the way I could say that is, 她根本没有理由. 她根本没有理由. Now, I'm going to get into a little bit more of this 理由 and different ways that you can use it here towards the end of the video as well. So how would you say he doesn't have any problems at all? And we're going to use 根本 for this one. 他根本没有问题. 他根本没有问题. Now for the last one in this section, how would you say you don't have any food at all? And we're going to use 完全 for this one. 你完全没有吃的. 你完全没有吃的. Alrighty, let's go ahead and move on to the next section. But before we do that, you know my videos are free, but you know what isn't free? Electricity. So if you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, I can pay my electric bill and continue to make quality content like this video. Alright, now back to the lesson. Alright, now let's go ahead and switch some stuff up here. We're going to take out 根本 and 完全, and we're going to flip-flop a couple things here too. We're going to put 没有 in that spot, and we're going to put 任何 in the next column. So 任何 means any. However, it's a more all-encompassing any. It's the way that it's been explained to me is a little bit more of a serious tone. So the reason why I'm giving you an explanation like this is because I mentioned before that I took out 耐心 and 钱, and I wondered why did it seem weird to me to say 他没有任何耐心, like he doesn't have any patience. It seems like, well, that would make sense. Like, that's natural, right? However, after asking a few Chinese people, because again, I don't commonly hear this, so one of them gave me the explanation of that it's a little bit more serious than to say 他一点耐心都没有, okay? It's like that one is just more of like, he doesn't really have any patience. Whereas 他没有任何耐心, it's a little bit more like he's completely given up. Having any kind of patience is more of like a negation of the whole person. So the relative tone of the sentence is a little bit heavier than the one of saying 他一点耐心都没有. Now, if I were to use it with 钱, another Chinese person that I've asked recently, like, why is it that we would not say it with 钱? Because I felt like I haven't really heard a whole lot of Chinese people saying it with 钱either. They might say, as mentioned earlier in this video, 他一分钱都没有, or 他一点钱都没有, something like that. but why wouldn't they say 他没有任何钱? Well, the explanation that I was given here is that if I say 任何钱, we're talking about like any kind of money. So if you think of it this way, any could be any kind in this way, rather than just any by itself, especially when you're using it in the negated form, then what you're saying is like any type of money that's out there, like dollars, 人民币, pesos, euros, or whatever. Rather than just having money or not having any money, you're saying he doesn't have any kind of money. So that's why you use one of the other phrases. You could use 根本 and 完全 to emphasize that you don't have any money at all. But when you say 任何钱, you're talking about any kind of money. Okay? Now, if there's any Chinese people that feel that they could do a better job of explaining this, I encourage you to go ahead and write that in the comments below. How would you explain why normally you wouldn't say 没有任何耐心 or 没有任何钱? Now, for all these other nouns, and I'm going to give you some more nouns here in just a minute, it's perfectly fine to use 任何, but you can still think of it as an all-encompassing, like every kind of that thing, okay? When you're saying any, okay? So we're going to go ahead and take those out. So with that, how would you say we don't have any problem or we don't have any problems? 我们没有任何问题。我们没有任何问题。Now, with this method, how would you say you don't have any friends? 你没有任何朋友。你没有任何朋友。So let's go ahead and do two more questions real quick. How would you say he has no reason or he has no reasons? 他没有理由。他没有理由。Now, that's a little bit of a trick question because I've been using 任何 this whole time. But with that, how would you say he has absolutely no reasons or he doesn't have any reasons or any kind of reason? 他没有任何理由。他没有任何理由。Now, you're probably asking yourself, why would you even say something like this? Sounds kind of like out of nowhere. He has no reason. Okay. Well, what you're doing is you're actually answering somebody else's question. They might have said like, well, why did he do that? Well, he doesn't have any reason. Or, well, he has absolutely no reason. Something along those lines. Now, if you wanted to have a full standalone phrase that you don't actually need to rely on somebody else saying something to do anything this way. For an example, if you were to say, he doesn't have any reason to do it like this, or to do it this way, the way you would say that is, 他没有任何理由这样做。他没有任何理由这样做。Now, if you wanted to say he doesn't have any reason to do something like this, rather than to do it like this, you say to do something like this. You could say, 他没有任何理由做这样的事。So, 事 is things, and then 这样的 is like this. So, things like this, or 那样的事. So, something like this or something like that. So, what I'm going to do here, based on what I was explaining to you with, he has no reason to do whatever. All you have to do is put something at the end. So, I'm going to give you 4 more phrases. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you some questions that you can answer in the comments below, based on what you see here. So, if you were to say to steal things or to steal stuff, you would say 偷东西，偷东西. That means to steal, and then 东西 means stuff. And if you were to say to fire him, like he was working for you and then you're going to fire him, you could say 把他解雇, or you can say 解雇他. And then if you were to say to drive to London, you would say 开车到伦敦, or 开车去伦敦. You could also say 开车到伦敦去. However, I normally hear it one of those first 2 ways. And then the last one here, if you were to say to turn down my suggestion or to reject my suggestion, it would be 拒绝我的建议，拒绝我的建议. So with these 4 phrases, how would you say he has absolutely no reason to steal stuff, or he doesn't have any reason whatsoever to steal stuff? So we're going to be using the 任何 phrase right here, okay? Just keep that in mind. Now, how would you say she doesn't have any reason to fire him? And you can use either form there. So you can use the 把他解雇 or 解雇他. And then the third question, how would you say, I don't have any reason to drive to London? And then the last one is, you don't have any reason to turn down my suggestion, or you don't have any reason to reject my suggestion. All right? So make sure you write those in the comments down below. Now, if you like this video, make sure you 点赞、订阅和 分享这个视频. Or in other words, like, subscribe, and share this video. And until next time, 下次见.